Okay guys, this is the next video in my little NAS modular hard drive storage series, and this is just building one of these cubes start to finish. So these boards are really neat because they have all of the 4 SATA ports, a fan header, and then just these 2 pogos for power in. And also it has activity LEDs built in right onto this board. So these boards are super handy. They're only 25 bucks a piece. So you can expand your NAS storage 4 drives at a time for the cost of these bays and the SATA cables. So it ends up being really cheap. I mean, I think after filament, after this board, after the SATA cables and everything, these probably only end up costing me like maybe $40 each to print this out with the threaded inserts and everything. So how this works is you have these 4 connectors for your hard drives. This drops in right into here, and it can only go one way since these holes are staggered. So you just line this up and screw it in. It doesn't work the other way. It doesn't work this way either. So that way you know which way this is supposed to go. But once you get this bolted in, then on the back side of this, we have a 120 millimeter fan mounting point. So I really like the Be Quiet and the Noctua fans. I just bought these because they're black, and that's basically it. I really think that Be Quiet and Noctua both have comparable products, but these were a great price, so I was able to get 6 of these, and I'm going to throw 2 of them into my tower, and then the rest of them are going to go in these cubes. I have 4 of these cubes. This is the 4th one that I have built, but these are really neat because you just have these little holes, and I have 3D printed a bunch of these little pins that will slide into each one of those holes like this, and this pin is just going to lock these 2 together without using glue, because I really wanted to be able to pull these back apart if I need to. So you just line this up and kind of pound them together when you're completely finished with the build. But all you have to do is basically run your SATA cables through this little square slot along with your power, and plug in your fan, screw that all in. And I also even made a front cover for this, and I was able to cut up fan filters. You can buy this fan filter material on Amazon for dirt cheap also. And I'm just going to put that on the front like that, just to have a little bit of a filter for this drive, because I actually have been using almost this same exact thing as an expansion for my NAS for about 1.5 years, and it did get a little bit dusty inside there. So I wanted to add the fan filter for this go around. And another thing I added is I'm able to mount these together when they're fully built so that they are just stuck together better. They don't shift around. And if you ever need to move the hard drives for any reason, you can literally just pick up the whole tower as a unit, and you can configure these however you want. You can make them all in a row, you can stack them in a tower, you can literally do whatever you would like. And I'm going to come up with a different mounting tab for the center, because when you have 4 of these stacked in the center, it'd be easier just to have one tab with 4 holes rather than having these tabs that only have 2 holes in them. So that's what I'm going to do next. But for now, I've just been using these, as I use these in a lot of other projects as well. I have a bunch already printed, so that's what I'm using. But this is pretty awesome. You just slot your hard drives in. They click perfectly into this board. It's super satisfying. So check it out. Come along with me as I build this thing and put it all together. And then I just run a zip tie around all of these cables at once, and that just helps tidy everything up and helps keep it from running into the fan once you put the fan on here. So I just get this kind of tight, and then I get these wires a little bit closer together and just go ahead and cinch this guy down. So as you can see, all of these are nice and flat up against that board, and then I'll just trim off the excess from the zip tie. And after that, we are pretty much ready to mount up the fan and run our power wire also. There we go. And this cable is kind of in the way also, so what I do is just push these over as flat as I can, and then I zip tie these to the SATA cables as well. And this is just gonna make everything a lot easier to deal with later. Whatever fans you order should come with the screws that you need right in the box. And then you're obviously going to just want to see which way is push, which way is pull. Sometimes there will be an arrow to show which way it goes, so just be mindful of that. This one, the airflow pulls through here. So if I mount it like this, then we will be good. First, I like to plug it in before I start bolting the fan on, because that's the easiest way to do it. So I'm just going to run this up here and plug it into that fan header up top like that. And now I'm just going to mount this in such a way that I can kind of take up some of this slack in the cable, just like that. Or if you don't want it to be upside down or whatever, it doesn't matter. All this does is pushes air or pulls air, so it's not rocket science. But these holes should be the correct size for these screws. I didn't have any on hand actually, so I just guessed on the sizing, but that does look like it's going to work perfectly. So I'm going to actually have to, the way that this is set up, I'm going to have to screw it through this hole. Okay, there we go. I've got the fan mounted, and we have all of the wiring back here. I'll just tidy this up a little bit more, but that is pretty much ready to go. So now what we're gonna do is put in all of those little dowel pins that I 3D printed, and we will kind of tap this whole thing together. One thing to note is I do think that there is actually only one way that this end can be, this larger end. It can either be like this or like this, but for the hard drives to fit correctly, it has to be a certain way. So just grab a hard drive real quick and slot it in without it being all hammered together, and then you'll know which way it's supposed to go. So I'm gonna go grab a hard drive and do that. Okay, so this is how these work. Just slot it in there, push it all the way in, like so. And if they don't just snap right in pretty easily, then you know that this needs to be 180 degrees from where it is. So just flip it over, and you can also just have it protrude just a little bit to double check, and that is the correct orientation. So just double check it before you put it together, and then you will know how it's supposed to go. So I'm going to leave that one as it is on the table, and I will just start to slot in all of these little dowel pins all the way around. Now we should be able to line up all of these little dowel pins here and just start tapping everything together. It shouldn't fight you too much, so just go ahead and start tapping it and it should come together. There we go. So now we have a one-piece hard drive cage essentially, and we'll just double check our fitment on this drive again, and I'm sure that you guys will like to see how satisfying this is. So it's connected. That is it. Now it's all in there, and you can have 4 drives in here, and they will be cooled by 120 mil fan, which is more than enough airflow for these. I actually ran these without a fan, and one of my drives got really hot, like up to, well, I guess it's not super hot, but it was like 52 degrees Celsius, which to me was hotter than any of my other drives ran. It was a refurbished drive, but once I put this fan on it, it went all the way down to 30 degrees C. So I think that this is definitely worthwhile. You could potentially mount this fan on the inside of this with a small redesign to this chassis, but for me, I didn't really care. Just putting it on the back doesn't bother me at all, so that's what I did. But that's what one of these hard drive enclosures looks like, fully complete. So go ahead, guys, and leave a like down below. I'll also put the links to everything I purchased for this project in the description. They are affiliate links, so I really do appreciate you guys helping me out by purchasing these products through that link. And that's how I'm going to be able to offer these for free for the print files. So mostly I'm just looking to help those guys out there that don't want to spend big money on a server chassis or anything like that, because they do get expensive. And I did have, you know, my own little 8-drive Junsobo little case, NAS case, which is where these straps came from. But I ran out of hard drive bays. So for those of us that are trying to do this on a budget and not buy 16 terabyte drives at a time, you know, buying 4 terabyte drives at a time is all I can really make work for my budget. So that's what I've been doing. And this is just another way to allow me to continue doing that until I can potentially upgrade to something else. Quick note about the print settings. You can go ahead and click off if you don't care. But I did do, for the first 8 millimeters on each end of this, I did a modifier, a height modifier. So the first 8 millimeters is printed at 25% infill, and the rest is 5% infill. So I did that because these big M6 inserts really need material to grab into. So that's why I did it that way. Everything else seems to work just fine with 5% infill. So that is the project. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.